Hello and welcome back to Just Follow Joy. My name's Ariana, not Joy, and I'm a human design guide and teacher. And today we are talking to one of my favorite people on the planet, Danielle Hendrickson, all about Turning of the Ages Mystery School, also known as Turning of the Ages Astrology. So in the past, TOTAMS, which is what we refer to it as in this episode, was called Shamanic Astrology, but the name has been changed. So we might mention that a couple times in this episode, but please know that we're just referring to the same thing. So we're going to dive into that in just a second. But before we do, I just want to remind you that if you haven't yet, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could like and subscribe, or if you're listening wherever you listen to your podcasts, an audio version, if you could leave a 5-star rating and review, this would be really, really helpful to getting the show out in front of other people who would like and love it too. Of course, there's never any pressure. Just glad you're here, but we do appreciate it. So that's it from me. So let's go hear from Danielle. Okay, so we are lucky enough to have our lovely Danielle joining us today and sharing all of her wisdom. Let's start off with just learning what totems actually is.
Yeah, Totems is a astrology mystery school that is founded by Daniel Giamario. And he's this dude who in the 70s was like birthed this thing. And he's a shamanic astrology. It was originally called shamanic astrology, and it has just now been called Turning of Ages. So you'll probably hear us like do that too because we're so used to it. But anyways, it was founded by Daniel, and it is all about the earth. It's very earth centric. It is about being on the land and looking at the sky. And in fact, I don't know if they do this anymore, but I know one of their like things that they made you do to go through the school was that you had to sleep outside under the stars once a moon and literally learn and like watch the patterns. So yeah, it's just very earth centric basically. And that kind of feeds into what makes it different than like Western or modern astrology is that there isn't such an emphasis on the sun.
Hmm.
It's actually, I mean, it is important, but it's equally as important. Um, I mean, it is a massive planetary body, so it is infusing us and impacting us, but it's more actually about the gas in your car. So it is like what is making you drive forward towards your ascendant, which is the mystery school that you are here to master, right?
Oh my God, I can't wait to dive into all of this. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm getting so ahead of myself. But first, I do want to talk about Turning of the Ages astrology overall a little bit more. What celestial objects are like the most important in the system? There's also so much more about like so can you talk a little bit about that too? Because I think it's really interesting.
It is, and I will say it's very heavy on Carl Jung Hellenistic astrology. They use whole sign. It's like a little soup of a bunch of different things. It's like China, India, Ireland, Scotland, but there is a heavy emphasis on the god and goddesses archetypes.
Mm.
There are 12, they call them mystery schools, but they all have that sacred feminine and masculine side to them. And that is another piece that makes it just much more than Western astrology. And it's brilliant, I will say. But yeah, does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. And it reminds me of human design in that way. Human design is very blatantly a synthesis of 5 different systems and pulls from all these different sources of wisdom all over the world. So, can you talk a little bit more about these like 12 mystery schools that go along with the gods and goddesses? And you're saying that there's a masculine aspect and a feminine aspect. So, what does that mean?
Yeah, so each of the like Aries is its own mystery school.
Mm.
And we come here or have been where we study what it means to be Aries. And if it is our moon, then that's what we have mastered already. If it's our ascending, it's something that we're working on here in this lifetime. So each of
Mm.
these zodiacs, they're their own body of work. And I I really love that they weave in the god and goddesses aspect because it's just the next level embodiment of us as souls, I believe. For us, Scorpio ascending, so we are
No, no,
here
well,
to,
you're Scorpio ascending,
oh, what are you?
Capricorn rising.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Capricorn
Okay.
ascending.
So for me, I'm Scorpio, which means I am here to deeply embody that Scorpio energy. And it's also my sun. So I get like the gas in the car is Scorpio. So this is like really like me going for it. The
Yeah.
Scorpio.
Danielle is
So
riding a scorpion fueled by more scorpions.
literally the vision I got. So much.
Wait, Danielle, wait. Have you ever seen that 70s show?
No, I'm sorry. I
Oh
know.
my God, it's fine.
I
It's
know.
okay. It's fine. Not everyone can watch and consume as much fucking media as I do and like base their life around TV quotes. I've literally like spent the last several months just binge watching Three's Company. For what reason? I don't know. It's not even a good show, but it is now the central tenet of my faith to watch this every night.
And it's
Uh,
70s, right?
what'd you
It's in
say?
the 70s,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. It started in
Okay.
1975. But anyway, oh yeah, speaking another 70s show. But in that 70s show, like the running joke for one of them is like when they're in their weed circle, like when they're all smoking in Eric's basement, Hyde, who's like the conspiracy theorist, is always talking about this car that runs on water. And like your car literally runs on water because Scorpio's a water sign.
It literally runs on water. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So then can we talk about the moon? Because I'm like really excited about the moon part. Okay.
Lindsay.
So the moon in Turning of the Ages is about more than just like, emotions and watery. It is your past life stuff. And when we come in, you and I actually do have Leo moons. So I'm
Hmm.
correct about this one.
Yes.
And that means that we have mastered being Leos in our past lives. It doesn't mean that we only have Leo, but it's what we're bringing in. It's like the book that we are carrying to help us in this lifetime.
Love that. So being an attention whore, the manual to being an attention whore.
Yeah, we've got that. That's also looking through that God goddess lens. It is the queen and the king, and radiant self-love is actually something that we have, and it's the leadership and showing up big in life and like all of that delicious Leo energy. That
Mhm.
is our moon.
Can I actually share something that just came up for me now? Danielle and I actually recorded something specifically on your Venus placement in Totems, and that's in the membership. So if you want to get on that, that's very juicy. We dive deep into that. And we also do talk about our moon placement a little bit. I didn't mention this then, but this has come up since then. I always like have this image of myself being like this like 70s rocker, like on stage playing guitar or just a like a performer in general. And I do love to sing. It's probably not for me in this lifetime. I was just talking to my friend. I'm like, yeah, I'm a pretty decent singer. I can carry a tune, but I don't really have the pipes for that. And I've never been someone who's like picked up a guitar, that two-line talent, just like picked up a guitar and be like, what, this is hard. But I do deeply feel like my mom has said this to me. She was like, I have a feeling that you did that before. Like you've done that. That's why you enjoy that so much. And that's why you've always kind of wanted to be on stage and perform. And I've been that way my whole life. Nothing has changed since I was 3 years old. But it's interesting because it makes sense to me why that's so strong in me still, but it doesn't feel like this is really the lifetime that I get on stage and I like literally perform a concert in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, and another part too to know is that we're actually more comfortable with our moon. That's more comfortable than our rising or even our Venus placement
Hmm.
because we want to be comfortable. We want to go where we've always been. So we're going to be trying, it's like this dance of like, if my husband is struggling, I need to look at his moon and be like, all right, like I can see how your moon is showing up now, and we need to get you back, like back on track to where you're going. Does that make sense? Like when you start looking at how people are operating, because the moon is also very much our personality in that way. The sun has gotten so much emphasis on being like literally our personality, and that's not the lens of totems.
And these differences make the world go around. I love hearing about all these different perspectives. And I also want to say to anyone listening, like we've had now four different astrologers on this podcast, Danielle being the fourth. And each one of them has had a different view of astrology. Caitlin is different from Courtney, who is on here, is different from Susan Miller, who we just recently had on. And all of them give such beautiful perspectives. But I also want to say that, like, there are even more perspectives on astrology. And this is a system that has been around. A system is honestly a strong word. It's a collection of learnings and wisdom and ways of looking at life. This has been around for such a long time that there are going to be a million different lenses at which we can look through this stuff.
That's
So that
very
being,
true.
yeah, yeah. And so like this is even if like what Danielle is saying is like doesn't sound like the astrology that you've learned before, or anybody who comes on here is saying that, then just remember that it has so many different facets to it. Like, have you ever heard of draconic astrology before? Okay, so it's also it's also similar to this where it talks about like your soul. It's like it's not about you as a person here. It's like your soul and your past lives and how you've weaved through all of this stuff up until now. And I didn't learn about that till like last year, and I'm
Right.
guarantee you most people don't know what that is. I was just like fucking around on AstroSeek and I was like, what's this? And then ChatGPT helps me. But anyway, I'm getting a little off track here, but
No, such a great point, though. I mean, it is, there's so many different ideas of thought around astrology. And something too, like even the whole sign tropical, I mean, that can become a big debate. People take that very seriously. And it's just to know that like there's no right or wrong way. It's whatever makes sense to you. And turning of the ages makes the most sense to me. So that's the way I've gone towards it. It feels more like me. So, permission to do whatever you want.
yeah. And I was telling Danielle the other day, I was like, it sounds like the system is so correct for you. Like she knows so much about it already. And it's so generator. So generator to dive in and just be like, okay, great. Like this thing that I like, I can spend forever learning about it. I have all the man hours and all the energy to put into learning about this. So Danielle is already like to me so knowledgeable about this, but it's because it's correct for you. It's like that feels aligned and right intuitively. You're drawn to it, it excites you, and also with your spleen center, that instinct telling you like this is it, this is the thing
Exactly.
for me.
It,
Yeah, the way
yeah.
I felt about human design, I was like absolutely. um but anyway, what I kind of wanted to pull back to is, so with the sun being like the gas in our car, can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about what that means? Maybe I'm just like not getting it as much because like I get it kind of in a theoretical way, but could you give like a practical example of that, either from your chart or my chart or like literally anything?
Yeah, so if we are looking at the sun, it's the light that you're here to shine, and it's the energy that you're going to feed on. It's going to obviously fuel you to run on, and it's your new understanding of yourself and your path. So it's really it's actually like the I am learning this. So I am learning Scorpio. It's the juice and it's the lesson plans.
That
Okay.
makes a lot of sense to me too, because I understand Capricorn as being my path in this system. That makes sense to me. And then I always have felt like there are aspects of Libra where it's like, this is just me. Like, I think certain people could look at me and think that here I am, adore me. But no, that's my Leo moon. But I also have
Totally.
felt like I kind of have to learn to be a Libra because when people look at me, I don't think that people see,
Mm,
it depends on the person, but I don't know that people look at me and think, wow, she is so diplomatic and Libran and level-headed and even and looking for balance all the time, or finding balance. I think I have definitely looked like, whoa, those scales are tipped. Someone forgot to put something on the other side there. You're not just imbalanced, you are unbalanced.
that's
And so that
exactly.
makes a lot of sense to me in learning the sun sign. And it
Yeah.
also, with again, Capricorn rising, makes sense that that would be the path I walk, that path toward like it's leaving a legacy or creating a legacy, building an empire through my work, um, commitment to what I'm doing and really putting my whole booty into stuff. And
Mhm.
also like understanding responsibility. Yeah.
Absolutely. It is. It's the responsible leader. And that's so you. And it's not just for personal gain, it's for the benefit of the culture, your larger community, right? So it's so very you, actually. So
Thank
you.
you. Yeah. I would love to ask another question.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Okay. First off, do the nodes play a part in shamanic astrology? I mean, because I know in traditional Western astrology, most of the time when we talk about the nodes, it's like it's like the south node is more what it sounds like is the moon sign in totems, and then the north node is more what would be the sun sign or the rising sign.
Right. I love that you asked this question. So the South node is basically the job that you had in your past life. But we don't look at the sign, we look at the house
Mm.
because that's changing like every 2 hours, the house of this. But the sign, it's longer, right? So we look at the house to see, and then the house tells us what the job was.
And then is the North Node is like,
It's your job now
okay.
that you would be doing with in conjunction with your rising sign. I
Mm.
should have looked. I should have looked at your chart to tell you. This would have been so good. I didn't even think about the nodes. But yeah, it's another really cool layer. But so if you have the moon and the south node, those are your past. The rest of your chart is your intention, your intent here. It's the progressive parts of your chart. I
So
know.
cool. And you actually already pulled me. Okay, well, why don't we try an explanation of this? So
Yeah.
my South Node is in the fourth house in Aries,
Okay.
and my North Node is in Libra in the 10th house.
All right, so we need to look into the fourth house. So it's roots, family, home, right? So if your job then, that's where you were focusing. That's where you were focused with your Leo. So it's kind of like weaving a little story together of you, Leo, with the job of like homemaker. It's like home,
Queen of the house was the
right?
matriarch or
Right?
patriarch.
Right? Because the Leo energy, she is queen. She's the queen energy. So very much so. Okay,
Maybe I was
Isis.
Julia Child in my past life.
I'm all like, okay, Isis, and you're like, Julia Child.
I know. Oh. Actually, I'm pretty sure she was still alive when I was born. This is like when Snoop Dogg said that he was Bob Marley reincarnated, but he was born before Bob Marley died.
Exactly.
Snoop
Exactly.
Lion.
So yeah, I was thinking more Isis for you, but okay. There you
Nice.
go.
Okay. I can see that. Wait, this is
Mhm.
like yesterday too. This is like
Okay.
yesterday when we were talking. I was like, yeah, I still have a little bit of that fear of being seen and growing, my business and visibility. And Danielle was like, well, you know who that always makes me think of? And in my mind, I was like thinking of some influencer, like some person who's been like attacked a lot online and persevered. She was like, Danielle goes, Jesus. I
It's
was like,
Jesus.
oh, the greatest influencer of
Oh,
all.
right.
His Instagram would be popping off nowadays. He'd be huge on
Right.
TikTok.
Yeah. Him and Mary Magdalene, they would have great social media presence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They would have a great family channel vlog, except it would be the disciples or the apostles instead of their kids.
God, I love us. I love our conversations.
I'm sorry. Not just to Danielle, just to Christianity overall. Anyway, okay, so we're getting back to this. So, all right. So my past job then would have probably been, yeah, that ISIS energy. And where is your South Node, Danielle? What house?
The second house.
Okay.
Tell
All
me what
right.
you're.
So your South Node is in Sagittarius in the second house.
Yup.
Yeah, the second house is worth. So it's worth through the self, and then it's also worth through your belongings and possessions and things like that. It has a lot to do with money because it is ruled by Taurus. So all of this stuff, like earthly possessions is,
Yeah.
really comes back to Taurus at the end of the day. With your South Node there,
And then
interesting. What do you have an intuitive feeling that your job would have been in your past life?
this is such a good question.
It could be, dude, it could be anything. You could have been somebody who made money through being a philosopher. Like
Yeah,
you
but
could have been somebody who helped others like find their self-worth and freedom through self-worth. Like there's so much that could have been there. And then
yeah,
also everyone listening, like when we say job, I'm assuming Danielle, you mean like kind of cosmic job or like spiritual job of being here,
yeah,
not necessarily your career path.
right. Well, or what you did for the tribe, what
Mm.
you did for your community. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
am totally seeing you as like philosopher in that case
Oh,
then.
I'm like really thinking about this. Thank you so much for asking this question. For sure, philosopher. I feel like that would be true. I am a philosopher.
You definitely are. And it's so funny because Danielle is one of those Scorpios, like you're just like Milo in this way. I know Milo is my mom's golden retriever puppy. But besides the fact that you're both blonde, Scorpios can be so sweet. And it can really cover up this true depth to them. So like Danielle is a witch, but she
Mhm.
looks like a little Barbie, like a little Barbie cupcake girl. And it's just so funny. And I know so many Scorpios who are like that.
It's so true. And I think that's been the both and of my whole life. I am both, well, I'm both Leo of
Mhm.
like, I am that golden retriever energy, but I'm also very deep. So that's why people are like, it always surprises them when the witchy side comes out. Because like, whoa, wait, I thought you were right. So this has actually been a really hard thing for me to be like
Sorry,
Milo.
I don't mean to compare you to a dog. I
No,
actually
it's like,
hate when people do that for generators. I'm like, we're people. Like,
no, it's perfect. It's like the energy is that, and it is very much a Scorpio, right? It's the both and this has been one of the biggest things of my life, actually. So I love that you're mentioning it.
awesome. I've just noticed it about you, and I think about it a lot, to be honest. When I describe you to other people, I'm like, yeah, Danielle is like the sweetest cookie with dark chocolate chips in her, you know?
Totally. Well, yeah, and people are always, they always say I have layers too. They're like, "Ah, Danielle, there's just a lot of layers to you." Like it's true.
Ice cream sandwich. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, okay. So we have that. Let's talk about our north nodes in this case then. So my north node in the 10th house in Libra, and then your north node in what would be 8th house in Gemini.
Gemini, right? So for me, that Gemini, that's very much probably I think Gemini is very much like the just the trickster, the
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday.
my hilarious nature.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So in the what did we say with eighth house?
Yeah, which is also ruled by Scorpio. Dude, you can't get away from Scorpio. It is so patterned into you.
Exactly. It's kind of wild. It's there isn't much of range.
It's okay. I can't get away from Saturn and like the influence of Capricorn. So like I'm Capricorn rising and my sun is in the 10th house and the 10th house is ruled by Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. Like,
Right. It's yeah, exactly. So all right, so for you, what does this mean for you? Let me hear your take on your north node.
okay. Well, you would have to tell me a little bit more about like the goddess of Libra or that archetype. But for me, in the 10th house is all about visibility, being seen, fame, yes, but there's an aspect to this where it's from hard work and from putting in the effort. It's very Capricorn. It's like I got here because I took each step and I kept going. Um, and then eventually I got there and I built this for myself. So it's like being seen for that, it's the leadership aspect of that too, but all of it from putting in the effort.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I do believe that's a big part of what I'm here to learn. It's not just what I'm here to learn. Like I'm naturally a hard worker, and I do love to do that. For me, it's like the biggest thing has always been just like learning where to place that because if you don't place it correctly, then it feels like you're never going to get there, and then you give up, right? But I can't. I don't really have that option in this lifetime. That's not what I'm here to do. That's my North Node, everyone.
I love it. I love it. So that you said it's in Libra, right?
Yeah. Oh, also one other thing is learning to be okay with being seen. So we talked about, how Leo loves to be seen, sure, but there is another side of that too where it's like when it comes to my work, one of the biggest things for me is like have I worked hard enough to deserve being seen? And that's just a theme that I'm here to kind of understand and move towards. And I think I'm here to learn that, like, yeah, you like kind of regardless of how much you work, like you deserve to be seen and deserve to have your desires. But the path to get there probably will be through, this effort and just keeping going and not giving up. So, what about you with your Gemini in the eighth house?
I don't know. I guess just to be playful, right? But
Hmm.
also like soften it. It doesn't need to be so serious. As you can see, I am not serious. I am extremely playful, and that's my way of being relatable, I think, with my messaging, with my presence. That's what I would say for me.
Okay. Yeah, it's unfortunate because I'm so serious and this is why we don't get along. Been really meaning to talk to you about this actually. Like get it together, Danielle. So is there ooh,
Tell
Danielle,
me.
you have this whole thing where you describe, I was just looking at this in our notes. Do you mind just kind of like walking us through the 12 archetypes just to like give people an idea of what the god or goddess is and like what kind of goes along with that?
Yeah, I think we would start like, let's go with Aries.
Let's
That
do it.
is the warrior Amazon woman. If you're looking through goddesses, so very protectress energy and strength. Are you like that's the thing about these is like when you start looking at them through this goddess archetype, you can actually like visually see a goddess like with a bow and arrow and and she's like got fire in her hair. Like that is Aries, right? So then if we look at Cancer, Cancer's more of that soft love. Like we know Cancer's that mothering energy, protecting, teaching, loving, compassionate, a safe space. And that would, be her as goddess, mother goddess. Um, Capricorn is actually the grandmothers. It's, they're the ones who are their impact is going to ripple out for hundreds of years. It's a beautiful energy.
How about Taurus?
Yeah, Taurus, it's the Empress energy. And it wants to do what feels good in the body. So, what tastes good, what looks good, what sounds good. Like, that is the Taurus goddess. I'm like imagining like a woman eating grapes. There you go. That's the goddess of Taurus. And I will say, too, if you want to learn more about these in the book, actually, I have her here, the Shamanic Astrology book, it has everything of all of the gods and goddesses. It's a fantastic book. And it's, again, by Danielle Giamario and Kaylin Castell. You can like deep dive into the archetypes there.
So if like someone had a main goddess or god that they're here to embody in this lifetime, I know that like each of these different placements, they carry their own mystery school, and each of these archetypes are then going to be within us. However, if you were to like pick one and you're like, this is the main god or goddess archetype that you're here to embody, and I may already know the answer to this, we may have gone over this.
I think
What would it be?
if you identify as for the feminine, then it's your Venus. For the masculine, it would be Mars. And that's the god that you, as Mars, are rising to be in this lifetime. So there's this dance of the sacred feminine and the ascendant, right? Because we've got possibly two archetypes happening here. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, that's where you would look and you would like really go for it with your sacred feminine and deeply embody that archetype. It's the magic sauce. It's beautiful and magical. I highly recommend you learn your Venus.
Yeah, and you can understand what it means and go even deeper than what your sign and house represent in totems in the membership where Danielle and I do a deep dive into the Venus placement. It was super fun. The other thing I want to ask you is if somebody's looking at their chart and they're either going like, crap, how do I embody this? I actually really struggle with this, or you know that. No, thank you. Do not like. What would you say to them? Like, what would you leave them with if they're starting this out? And you would just give them some advice for working with that.
Yeah, so I mean, again, to understand that you are going to be more comfortable with your moon, that's where our comfort zone is. So to embrace down the Scorpio realm, it's a far jump from Leo, right? So it's like it's embodying it, it's going for it. That's the magic sauce too. 20% of the time, yes, be your moon. 80% of the time, go for your ascendant.
I love that. I
Mm,
really like that. And we
yep.
did talk a little bit about this in the Venus placement episode, but we both are so two people who can relate on having a Leo moon and how we do love to shine. And we are comfortable with that naturally, but this reminds me a lot about in human design how like we are all actually very naturally comfortable with our designs, but it's all about how we're conditioned away from that. So you may say like, well, I don't show up that way in the world, or I actually don't feel that comfortable with this. Well, it's because of your conditioning. And what I kind of wanted to say is that Danielle and I both have connected on the fact that, like, as kids, we did want a lot of attention. And that was something that I don't want to speak for you in the same way, Danielle, but it's definitely something I was shamed for. Not to say that everybody was wrong about that, because I could sometimes go about getting attention in ways that, like, maybe weren't the healthiest. And I look back and I'm like, how did you? how did anyone stand you at times? I sometimes look at my friends, I'm like, how are you still here? You saw, like, you were there at the darkest period. Like, you were a true homie. Why are you still here? Because of my Leo moon antics at the time. But because of that, I just want to say that you may feel like, well, I'm not actually that comfortable with it. Well, your soul is. Like at the core, you are, and you know that it's something that does want to, be there in you because it still is. But it may feel like there's a little bit of like peeling back that you need to do. But I'm just speaking from my personal experience as somebody with, with my personal moon sign.
Totally. I think at one point you and I talked about like we kind of were seen, well, for me, I was definitely seen as like the princess, right? But I was also told like you're so spoiled.
Me too.
You, right? Like you're the baby of the family. Like that there was such a narrative that it was like, actually, yes, that was very true. I was coming hot out of the Leo mystery school, so that's what I knew. But yeah, conditioning, is always it's gonna help too. Like
Yeah.
just yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much for this. I had so much fun, as always, talking to you.
I love you. Thank you
I
for
love
having
you. All right, everyone listening, you rock, and we will talk to you next time.